Back in the days when a few quid could net you a new game, budget titles in your local newsagents were a godsend. In most cases, it came down to the battle of the box art as to which one to choose. Future Bike Simulators promises the ultimate for speed freaks, along with the artwork showing a metal machine racing through the desert, resulted in a sale to a young, naive lad. There is an expectation budget titles to be bare bones in terms of presentation and options, but the Amiga version has very little apart from the digitised box art and a pretty terrible 3D title sequence. There's not even a sniff of a story, so it's a good job the C64 port can fill in the blanks. Kind of. In 1995, world governments banned motorbikes, so the billionaire Phineas M. Holder set about creating a legal replacement, and hence the Future Bike was created in 1999. Cool story. Racing into the first level, the Future Bike or the machine promised on the key art is nowhere to be seen. Instead, Holder's research has led to what can only be described as a pimped up mobility scooter. The poorly realised vehicle art is indicative of the wider standard of sprite work present in the Amiga version, and is probably a direct port from the Atari ST. The frame rate isn't great and the road routine is severely lacking. It moves slightly quicker than Cisco Heat, but so do most people's bowel movements. The C64 version actually fares a little better, given an increased sense of speed, but again, it's very rudimentary in appearance. If you're looking for enemy variety, you won't find any. Future Bikes must have been big business for the billionaire, as there appears to have only been one model and one colour produced, as you get the same reused sprites over and over, with only a few palette swaps on fellow racers' helmets. The C64 does mix up the colours to more of a degree, but it's very crude, lacking any detail, which results in them looking like a fat man in a bumblebee costume. Projectiles are very tame in both versions, as your bike shuffles from side to side and occasionally about 6 inches off the ground, in order to avoid bombs and other hazards. You'll motor across the standard environments of cityscape, desert, rapids, ice flows and mountains, with the roadside furniture changing to suit, but it's all a bit bland. The mid-level garage that springs up from time to time is at least intuitive to use, although power-ups add very little visual pizzazz. As a graphical package, the two versions are found wanting, and I remember 1999 looking a lot more exciting than the drab vision presented here. Before it dawned on me that I'd bought a bit of a banger, I was taken aback by the extremely energetic title tune. It manages to convey more energy in its first few bars than the entire game, with the SID translation edging out the Amiga version. Sadly, this is the only tune in the game, and the C64 version abruptly kicks out when jumping into the game proper. As such, the paltry gunfire punctuates the silence and the sonics feel as barren as the desert you'll race through. While the Amiga version will run with sound effects and music at the same time, even a good tune can become tired when put on repeat. Vehicular combat games should be a thrill a minute, with games like Turbocharged showing how it's done. Future Bike falls spectacularly short in all areas. There are no brakes, so controlling your craft is unwieldy, meaning you'll often smash into the scenery. The radar you can purchase in the random pop-up garages is nigh on useless, actually telling you the wrong way sometimes. Shooting fellow racers results in them dropping bags of money to use in the garage, but most of the power-ups feel inept, especially the cloaking device, which serves no purpose. Shooting is equally poor, feeling lightweight and imprecise. Moving your craft upwards to avoid hazards feels like an afterthought, making Titus's Fire and Forget look like a masterpiece. There's no real sense of progression, as the levels feel recycled but placed in a different environment. And then there's the difficulty. It spikes massively around the third level, and becomes an exercise in sheer frustration as you get funneled into narrow lanes, taking damage from all sides. Future Bike gained very little traction in the press and is probably the main reason it was purchased blind by many. Those reviewers that did grip the throttle were understandably scathing in their assessments. And speaking of assessments, I asked our favourite Aussie reviewer,
No! It's fucking gassed out! Piss poor cardio by the ball!
no, not that one, to share in my pain and look at the C64 version further. RGN covers a range of games for retro systems, specialising in new homebrew and commercial releases for our favourite computers, so please go and check him out.
Thanks for that, BDG. I had no awareness of Future Bike Simulator heading into your review, and when I first saw the screenshots of the game, I was excited as it kind of looked like F-Zero from Super Nintendo. Well, oh boy was I wrong. Future Bike Simulator is a game lacking a soul or sense of cohesion. With no real rhyme or reason, I found myself immediately thrown into the action, dodging objects quickly coming my way without ever really being sure what they were. When I realised that I could blast these things into oblivion, the game stopped being a racer for me and became more of a shooter. Steering around the course is a nightmare, as there appears to be no brakes on the motorcycle of the future. And what dumbfounded me was the armoury screen would just appear out of nowhere mid-level. And I hadn't even realised some of the things I had been running into were money bags allowing me to buy additional weapons, most of which proved to be somewhat useless. And how about that third level? What a mess. I do have one question for you though, BDG. Why does a multi-billionaire need to collect money off the road? Shouldn't he have the funds to equip his bike with all the weapons in the first place?
Thanks for helping trample on my childhood memories, RGN, but he does raise some good points as the game doesn't excel in either driving or shooting and lacks any character. As for the billionaire, I'm guessing he made his money from picking up pennies on the streets of Future Bike. Players can suitably temper their expectations when playing budget titles, and little gems can occasionally be stumbled upon, like CJ's elephant antics. However, Future Bike Simulator isn't one of those and is barely playable in some respects. The sterile graphics and dire gameplay mean this definitely belongs in the bargain bin.